Right now, people are dying because of pills. In fact, 40 people across the world every hour die from opioid-related causes. Opioids were originally created to be pain-relieving pills, but they are causing pain in families across the world as their family members are ripped away from them because they are a slave to their addiction to opioids. Addiction impacts so many people worldwide and almost 10 million people every year. So what causes this? Well, actually 50 to 60% of addiction is actually due to genetic predisposition to certain drugs. People have certain genes that influence pathways like self-control and reward systems in their brain, and certain receptors that bind more easily to drugs. And this influences whether or not they get addicted to, for instance, opioids. So what can we do with this information? Well, if we have a person's genome, we can combine genetics with feed-forward neural networks to help have a quantitative measure of how likely they are to be addicted to an opioid. So what happens is a feed-forward neural network takes in multiple inputs, which in this case would be the different genes. So we already know which genes cause addiction based off research that scientists have already been doing in mice, and these same genes are identical in humans and all other animals. So what would happen is the machine learning neural network would already be trained on mice data to know which genes cause addiction. We would then we have an expected output based off our mice data and know which genes are already causing the addiction. So we would have an expected output, and there would be certain weights placed on each gene. They would be randomly assigned at first, but as we tweaked the neural network, we would be able to make the weights more accurate and get our expected output. And then, once they're trained on the mice data, which we already know the expected output for, we would be able to use this with actual human data, which we could get from federal databases like the CODIS, which has almost 9 million people in it. And so basically, the genes would get certain weights, they would all get added up, and then we get a quantitative value. And then this would get put through a sigmoid activation function, and we get a 0 or 1. And it would be a spectrum along 0, 1. And if the value was trending more towards 0, it would be a lower likelihood of addiction, and higher, it would be a higher likelihood of addiction. So what would we do with this quantitative measure? Well, besides knowing how likely they are to be addicted, we could also help influence treatment. So there are certain genes already that cause this, and one of those is GPR139. So studies have shown that removing these genes can help reduce neuron firing when exposed to an opioid such as morphine, and that means that they're less likely to be addicted. And withdrawal symptoms are also improved in people who are already addicted if the gene is removed. So basically, we can help influence treatment and give this score to doctors so they can know how to help drug addicts better. Scenes like the one shown here of someone overdosing because they're a slave to their pill can end today. People don't have to live like this forever. Our EMTs and first responders and our people who are addicts deserve better. Nobody deserves to have pills that are supposed to help them kill them.